From hiring an engineer with 25 world championships to building a $276 million state-of-the-art factory, paying a world champion to drive the car,
My first priority will be this team.
and dedicating 5 years to prepare for this season. Just to finish dead last and only complete 50% of all race laps. This is what the f*** is happening with Aston Martin.
We've had issues last couple of weeks in Barcelona and again yesterday, so...
It begins with Big Daddy Stroll, the man who built a $3.8 billion business empire. And when Racing Point became Aston Martin for the 2021 season, Stroll had one goal: to win races. I've got to give him credit for ambition, but this is Formula One, and the reality is much more brutal.
As far as Formula One is concerned, we believe we will take Racing Green to new levels this year.
Just look at Toyota and Jaguar. Both teams entered F1, they had high expectations, and in less than a decade, both packed up. But Lawrence Stroll is different. He wasn't held back by board-approved budgets like other car manufacturers, so just buying the assets of Force India and rebranding the team to Racing Point for the 2019 and 2020 seasons wasn't enough. Stroll had greater ambitions. He wanted to own everything a Formula One team is made up of. So he bought a stake in Aston Martin to bring British Racing Green back to the Formula One paddock.
I'm relentless. I don't give up until the mission is completed. In this case, the mission is being world champions.
With the power of Aston Martin, Lawrence used his business skills to create a plan that would win the championship within 10 years.
This is all on the road and the journey. I said, well, I took over this team, bought the team. It's about 6 years ago now. I said it'll be a 10-year journey to winning a Formula One World Championship.
He was going to reinvent this sport and do what no one else dared. And when Checo left for Red Bull, Stroll had a problem. Lawrence knew that to anchor the project, he needed a veteran, a former world champion and someone who understands the sport better than anyone else. He opened the checkbook and signed four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel.
With the relaunch of Aston Martin in Formula One, I think it's a great step, and it's certainly very, very exciting to be part of that.
And the project got off to a solid start. Seb scored a podium in Baku.
Sebastian Vettel moved teams. He picks up his first podium for Aston Martin.
And helped Aston to 7th place in the Constructors' Championship by the end of the year. But Stroll knew that having good drivers wasn't the only key to winning championships. To build a winning car, they needed the best infrastructure. He didn't cheap out either, spending $276 million to build a state-of-the-art facility that is 400,000 square feet in size. Starting in 2021, Aston Martin began construction of the AMR Technology Campus. This wasn't just a factory, it was a statement of intent and a clear message to the rest of the grid that Aston Martin had arrived. But as construction continued in the background, 2022 marked another crucial moment for Aston Martin. You see, Honda were about to pull out of Formula One. Then Michael Massey happened.
Is Verstappen far enough back? He's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton sees it coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen.
No, Mike, that was so not right.
Suddenly, it wasn't such a bad idea for Honda to remain on the F1 grid. But Red Bull already took over Honda operations with the new Red Bull powertrain department. And when Red Bull announced a move to Ford for 2026, Daddy Stroll saw an opportunity. He struck a deal that by 2026, Aston would break its dependence on Mercedes and become the sole team running with Honda.
It's a huge privilege to be at this special event here in Tokyo. The announcement of the works team to the world, the show car, the show power unit, building the relationship, the works relationship between Honda and Aston Martin. Real privilege to be here today.
The momentum rolled into 2023, and it was the first season the master plan bore some fruit.
Please welcome back to the Formula One podium for the 99th time, Fernando Alonso, who wins across the line.
Alonso scored 10 podiums and dragged the AMR 21 to P4 in the Drivers' Championship. He single-handedly helped the team finish P5 in the Constructors, just 22 points shy of Mercedes. But it was what happened behind the scenes that shocked the paddock. Big names were leaving established teams for bigger and better paychecks. He first poached Dan Fallows and Eric Blandin. When Fallows left, Stroll snapped up Enrico Cardile from Ferrari. All three of them are top aerodynamicists on the grid. But his crown jewel signing came in September 2024.
Good morning. How are you? Yeah, good, thanks, yeah.
The dream team was complete, and at the same time, the factory was done. And when you open the door, you are blown away. A state-of-the-art wind tunnel, automated logistics hubs, and a simulator facility that would make NASA proud. Despite no podiums in 2024, and Lance barely making it into the points.
There's Lance Stroll going into the barrier. Lance Stroll, who I thought might have been struggling with his time.
Aston once again finished in P5 in the Constructors. Everything was looking great heading into the 2025 season, and with the big regulation change just a year away, Lawrence decided to sacrifice the season for 2026. New regulations, a 5-year plan, a new factory, some of the best minds in the sport. The hype station was off the chart.
I think it's just very exciting and motivating for everyone to be a part of that.
The media said Alonso can win his 33rd race, and with Newey on board, we were pretty sure they were one of the top 3 teams on the grid. And Ted Kravitz was pointing out some of the Newey-specific designs.
See it on any of those stills, Bernie, but we think Newey's probably spotted the little vent, the little mouse hole, they're calling it, in the rearmost part of the floor that's kind of feeding air to the diffuser.
The stage was set for one of the greatest Formula 1 stories ever, and we were finally going to see Aston fighting for wins. Then, the unexpected happened. The 2026 cars hit the track, and calling it a disaster is an understatement. The cracks started to appear when the cars made it 3 days late to the shakedown. While Mercedes were logging 500 laps, Aston only managed 65.
It was nice to get behind the wheel, and yeah, getting used to the new Honda power unit and these new cars.
Yeah, with me in the car, it was special for us. Obviously, the first car made by Adrian, and together with Honda and Aramco, and all these new rules. And
it would be the final time we see these two men smiling like that, because when they pitched up in Bahrain, it was utter chaos. And this begs the question: how does a bottomless pit of billionaire cash, a brand new state-of-the-art facility, and literally the greatest mind in the sport's history end up with only 128 laps and 4 seconds off the pace? They put Adrian Newey and Andy Cowell under the same roof for a year and came up with a tractor. It was so bad that Alonso dropped one of the biggest bombshells of the season.
And you have this energy management that you have to be a little bit careful on how much you spend the energy. In a way, for the driver, maybe there is a little bit less excitement, because to make a fast lap, you need to distribute the energy on the straights.
Behind the scenes, things weren't any better, with team principal Mike Crack feeling undermined by Adrian Newey doing, well, everything. Everything except taking responsibility for the pace deficit. Newey did what Newey always does. He built a car with an aggressive aero system that required insanely compact packaging, but Cowell in the power drain department needed to manage complex cooling and MG UK setup for the new regulations. Instead of compromising, they forced the two ideas together, and in the wind tunnel, it worked. The supercomputer showed the car looking like a championship winner on screen, but the second the rubber hit the track, the physics broke down. The airflow was separating, the floor was stalling unpredictably, and there was no mechanical or aerodynamic grip to speak of. Lance was one of the first men to lash out at how slow the car was.
Yeah, we need time, and we also need to find performance, so there's definitely things to work on. We can make the car better, optimize it more, but it also looks like we need to just find more overall performance from the car.
Aston left pre-season testing broken. They called it a correlation disaster. So after Bahrain, the Silverstone factory was in panic mode. They spent the weeks leading up to Melbourne to find a quick fix for a broken concept. They added larger cooling vents, stiffened the suspension to keep the bottom of the car from stalling, and rushed a brand new Adrian Newey aero to the car. But when the cars hit the track in Melbourne, it was even worse than testing. Stiffening the suspension caused a violent vibration that vibrated through the chassis and immediately hit the engine. It caused a reliability issue. So when the race kicked off, it was less of a Grand Prix and more of a survival session. The cars were impossible to drive with the vibrations, and due to the damage caused, it literally had an alarm that told the drivers when to pit.
And then we fall back a little bit to our natural position, and then we have an alarm on the car. We have to stop the car once. I think we cleared that alarm. We had another problem. We have to retire it for the second time, so it was a little bit of a on-off day.
In the end, Alonso was 11 laps down on the race leader, and Stroll 15 laps when they retired the car.
Okay, Lance, we need to box now. Lance, box now. We need to come back in the garage. We'll box now, come back in the garage.
We came back in the box. We tried some different things to solve some of the issues we had this weekend, and at least we got out and did some laps, so hopefully we can be in a better position for China.
So with just 5 days between Australia and China, Aston tried to find a quick fix to get some stability back in the car. They brought a new front wing and claimed it helped with system stabilization, but somehow it made things even worse. Both cars finished the sprint race.
The race, we see the checkered flag with both cars, and obviously it's the sprint only. We want to do the same tomorrow on the main race, and one step at a time.
Yeah, just learning with more laps. We finished, so that was good.
But for the full race, it was utter chaos. The front wing stability upgrade failed so severely that Lance had to retire the car after just 10 laps.
Lance Stroll, the Aston Martin, coming to a halt in the first turns of the racetrack.
Alonso tried everything to bring the AMR 26 home, but 56 laps meant the Spaniard would have literally risked nerve damage.
Stop in the box. And then engine off. Car is state alpha.
The vibrations are just crazy to watch and almost worse than Mercedes' 2022 porpoising. And for the Japanese GP, we all hoped Aston could finally sort out their shit. And Aston were ready to make some steps forward. They brought a major power upgrade unit while revamping the chassis to add a little more space for the engine and the MGU-K to coexist. The idea was to help the engine fit more comfortably without disturbing the aero balance. Minor edge modifications were made to the underfloor, and the front wing was revised from the problematic design in Shanghai. This time it was a targeted upgrade with shortened wing flaps that push the airflow more outward. Yeah, Alonso cooked the new regs by calling the corners high-speed charging stations.
Pero las curvas rápidas ahora son puntos de recarga. Entonces,
But the vibrations were better, and the car managed to finish the race in P18. Stroll had to retire, and we finally got word for what's been plaguing the Aston Martin.
Coming easy to the box, Lance. We have an issue. Sorry, Lance. We'll have to switch off. We have to retire the car.
But I was having a fun race with Fernando in our own little championship, our own Aston Martin championship. So
It is something called funeral processions, which means the car has to run lower RPMs to prevent it from vibrating so violently. This in turn prevents the battery from fully charging and severely limits the straight line speed. The Aston was 30 km/h down on the other cars on the telemetry data in Japan. But as all this was happening, the super team was imploding. I mean, ESPN literally called it a disaster team. Lawrence Stroll, the team owner, is trying to engineer, and I'm pretty sure his micromanagement is now becoming a massive problem for those with decades of racing experience. The most embarrassing part is that Cadillac, a team who spent years jumping through politics, even lobbying the United States Supreme Court, and then spending $1 billion, are now beating them. But there is still hope. There is still one way Aston Martin can possibly save the AMR 26. Let's face it, championship talks are off the table. The only thing left to preserve is their pride and dignity, and that's where the B-Spec lifeline comes in. Adrian Newey has publicly stated the AMR 26 has tremendous development potential. That's basically engineer speak for saying the car is crap, but we know what's wrong. Their entire season relies on delivering an aggressive, massive mid-season B-Spec upgrade package. Reports suggest that this involves a completely redesigned chassis, which is much lighter and has a different rear suspension. Inside the engine will also be remounted with a different mounting system that should prevent it from being impacted by the vibrations. But the outside is where we will probably see the most changes. Aston plans to completely redesign the wings, following a similar approach to Red Bull. The B-Spec has been called a risk and could potentially backfire and make the car even worse, but Adrian Newey is pulling out all the stops. Honda is currently operating under the FIA's additional deployment and upgrade opportunities system. It's basically a lifeline granted to engine manufacturers who fall behind the target performance metrics. Honda are allowed extra dyno time and budget cap exemptions to fix the RA626H, but fixing an engine is not a short-term job. These are all great plans, but without the cultural fixes, the problem will go nowhere. The management DNA needs to change, or at least get some stability. You just can't have 10 people responsible for the same decision. The political infighting between Cardile, Cowell, and Newey, it's got to end. A definitive chain of command must be established and respected by Lawrence Stroll, but most importantly, he needs to back off a bit and give these men time to build the car. I might even say that Aston need to reconsider Lance Stroll's position if he cannot provide relevant feedback to continue development of the car. But Aston have been struggling with these new rules, and qualifying is now a game of who can charge the most battery instead of going flat out. And the person to blame, which isn't a person at all, is the FIA. Check out this video to see how they destroyed qualifying, and as always, thanks for watching.